Welcome to Empire Decay, where we dissect the greatest corporate corpses. And today, it is Kodak. Once the king of the world with 90% market share, but now just a textbook lesson. Their slogan was, "You press the button and we will empty your entire wallet." In 1888, and George Eastman turned photography from a torture into an addiction. Money rained down so hard they built an ivory tower and started living in the clouds. A Kodak moment was just a fancy name for making them filthy rich. But inside that golden castle, and a monster was being bred. In 1975, and Steve Sasson brought in a camera that looked like an explosion in an electronics store. "Boss, look, it needs no film, and it can kill us all right now." The bosses looked at it like an unwanted stepchild. 23 seconds to save a photo, and we could print an entire book in that time. They told Steve to hide that piece of junk because plastic film was the holy grail. Why sell a camera that lasts forever when you can sell plastic opium every day? It was a perfect business model until the world stopped being lazy. Selling digital cameras was suicide, and they decided they would rather die than innovate. They built walls out of film rolls to block the digital wave coming their way. We are the kings of chemistry, and they laughed while the world was moving to binary. Who would want to see photos on a tiny TV screen instead of holding a piece of paper? Meanwhile, the Japanese ninjas were sharpening their knives in the dark. Sony released the Mavica and said goodbye to all your film rolls. Kodak said it was just a toy, and they were busy buying pharmaceutical companies, making headache pills with film chemicals and a logic that could not be better. $5 billion evaporated faster than you could take a Polaroid. They were busy selling pills while digital termites were eating the foundation. In 1984, and Fuji stole the Olympic cake right under the giant's nose. Do not worry, it was just an accident, and they went back to sleep on a pile of old money. They spent billions to polish a ship that was sinking to the bottom of the sea. Like putting jet engines on a horse when the whole world is already driving cars. The 90s arrived, and digital cameras started getting as cheap as vegetables at the market. Kodak panicked and launched the PS-A-Freak hybrid between film and digital. Still using film, but pretending to be modern, and customers felt insulted. Software engineers were treated like third-class citizens in their own company. If there is no chemical smell, then you are not from here. The world went crazy for the delete button, and Kodak went crazy for losing revenue. Every time you delete a bad photo, and a Kodak boss has a heart attack. They tried to glue a digital screen onto a photo paper in desperation. When you try to protect the past, and you are tying your own noose. In 2001, and they bought a photo for what, and to trick you into printing photos. They had Instagram before Instagram, but wanted it to run on labor and paper. End of part 1, and welcome to the graveyard of the conservatives. Entering the year 2000, and the empire started burning as film revenue plummeted. They launched the Easy Share digital camera to prove they were still alive, but they were actually dying. Leader of the US market, but every camera sold was a piece of the giant cutting himself. Losing $60 for every product sold, and that is how geniuses do economics. They didn't know how to make software, so they tried to pour chemicals into a computer drive. The bosses still dreamed of a printing gold mine while the world was using memory cards. In 2001, and they bought a photo just to force you to print photos again. Owned the treasure, but wanted to use it to sell plastic toilet paper. A man in a black turtleneck appeared and threw a bomb called iPhone into the room. Taking photos with a phone, and they laughed until they realized they lost everything. The best camera is the one in your pocket, and not the one in their warehouse. A $300 billion mistake started from the contempt of the weak. The culture of hiding the truth made the ship crash straight into the iceberg.
Now it's invisible.
No one dared to tell the boss that the plastic kingdom was melting. They didn't innovate but turned into patent vampires instead. Suing everywhere to demand protection money for old inventions. Every time you take a selfie, and they want to jump in and ask for a penny. But court money cannot buy the love of customers who have already left. In 2010, a kid named Instagram appeared with 13 employees. They looked at it and said square photos were only for people who can't take photos. 18 months later, and Facebook bought that kid for $1 billion. The giant was busy selling off its entire ivory tower to pay debts. January 19, 2012, and the execution hammer sounded. Bankruptcy under Chapter 11 and a bitter end for the king. An American icon committed suicide because it refused to accept that plastic was over. They escaped bankruptcy in 2013, but were just a zombie. Sold all patents, and now they go to print packaging for other brands. From being the king of memories to making phone boxes for rivals. In 2020, and the ghost returned during the pandemic. The government loaned $765 million to make medicine. From developing film to making drugs and a magic trick by desperate people. Stock jumped 2,000% and everyone thought the king was back. But then an explosion and an investigation shattered the bubble. They returned to being a decayed and hollow empire. Survived 2 world wars but couldn't handle one upload button. Conservatism is the sharpest knife that they use to stab themselves. Never love the past more than your customer, and that is the price to pay. This empire died a long time ago, and now we are just looking at the ashes. End of part 2, and prepare for the most ruthless lessons. They didn't die because of bad tech, but they died because they loved old dollars too much. The giant became a patent vampire sucking the blood of the future. A lesson for every company today is never be afraid of killing yourself with your own hands. Apple killed the music player to create the phone, and that was a necessary ruthlessness. If you don't eat your own lunch, then those out there will do it for you. They had the chance to be the search giant or even the biggest social media on the planet. But they chose the safest path that led straight to the graveyard of oblivion. In business and safety is the deadliest trap you can possibly choose. Look at the tech ghosts of the year 2026. All are facing the moment of decision between evolution and decay. Never cry that we did nothing wrong and yet we lost the game. Doing nothing wrong is the biggest mistake when the whole world is spinning with change. The current world has no room for slowness and Stone Age mindsets. They spent a century teaching us how to preserve beautiful memories. But they forgot how to look at the future of their own. This arrogance is a chilling warning for every startup person. Never love your product more than the wallet of your customer. Customers only care about convenience and not about your history. They will abandon you as soon as someone else brings a faster button. The king of the past is now just a sad example in an economics textbook. A costly lesson worth billions of dollars for stagnation. Be ready to smash all your achievements to build something greater. Because if you don't do it, and those ruthless rivals out there will do it for you. That is the spirit of survival in this turbulent era. Every empire will fall, and the only question is who will be next. You are watching Empire Decay, where we expose the greatest corpses. I hope you have learned how not to become a conservative loser. Leave a comment on which empire you want us to examine next. Don't forget to subscribe to get your periodic doses of reality. Keep your curiosity and never let the past imprison your steps. Because out there are thousands of wolves waiting to take your place. They don't sleep, and they are ready to crush you the moment you stop. Welcome to the new reality where only change is eternal. Memories are just ashes if they cannot create value for today. They once wanted to connect people, but they forgot to connect with the future. A costly lesson for the complacency and arrogance of a plastic kingdom. Get ready for the next story about the decay of the video rental giant. The war between tapes and the rise of online streaming. See you all in the next moments of decay in history. Thanks for watching and always stay sharp to survive.